On our 5th wedding anniversary, Evan promised to give me a grand wedding. He said he deeply regretted not giving me a wedding back when we married, insisting I would have been the most beautiful bride. Then on the wedding day, he received a text message and rushed off in a hurry. I chased after him in my cumbersome wedding dress. He reassured me, "Lillian, there's an urgent matter at the company. I have to go first." His lies were so clumsy, yet I didn't feel like calling him out. Because I had cancer. My time was running out. Evan didn't know I'd received the message before him. I was sitting in front of the makeup mirror when my phone buzzed. Opening it, I saw, "Lillian Zhao, I won't disturb your life anymore. Are you satisfied?" My heart pounded wildly. Before I could react, I saw Evan glance at his phone beside me, then bolt out the door in a panic. He was always so composed. This was the first time I'd ever seen him like this. I scrambled to chase after him, nearly tripping over my dress hem. I slammed into the doorframe, my knee stinging fiercely. He didn't even glance back at me. He slammed the car door shut, leaving only those words behind. For this wedding, I wore a strapless mermaid tail gown in the chilly autumn air. I too wished my life could be beautiful just once, just this once. He left me standing there alone, surrounded by the invited family and friends. For a moment, I wanted to flee immediately. I was utterly exhausted. I didn't want to clean up the mess he'd left behind. He was the one who promised surprises. He was the one who filled me with anticipation. And he was the one who left me here. But as I met the searching gazes of those present, I realized we weren't a real couple. This was just a ceremony going through the motions. We'd carefully invited only our closest friends and family years after marrying, less than 6 tables total. Among them sat my college roommate and lifelong friends who traveled far to indulge my sentimental whims. I stiffly turned away, changed into casual clothes, and greeted each guest individually. Evan's best friend joked, "Lillian, you two really know how to party, having a wedding 5 years after tying the knot. Remember to invite us for your golden and silver anniversaries too." I smiled and agreed. But deep down, I knew there wouldn't be any such day. And even if I lived that long, my marriage to Evan wouldn't last that far. My best friend Mary rubbed my hands and asked, "Why are your hands so cold?" "Where's Evan?" I forced a smile. "Oh, he's busy. Just got called back to the office." She gripped my hand tightly. After over a decade of friendship, we knew each other too well. Meeting her gaze, I nearly broke down in tears. I didn't want anyone to notice, but inside I felt incredibly restless. After finally getting everyone settled, I collapsed exhausted into a chair, too drained to speak. Then my mother suddenly called, yelling, "Don't you have a heart? Your sister is dying, and you still have the nerve to hold a wedding?" I didn't even have the strength to stand up. I just listened calmly as she vented. It took me a while to piece together what happened. Joanna Song had suffered a depressive episode and slit her wrists on the school rooftop. I finally found my voice. Didn't the groom go to save her? What more do you want from me? Kill myself to appease her? Will that cure her illness? There was one more thing I didn't say aloud. I won't live much longer. Not many days left. You'll be satisfied soon enough. But I didn't want them to know. I didn't want to see any of them in my final days. What are you talking about? Your husband couldn't bear it, and your childhood friend is dying, yet you show no reaction? How can you be so cold-hearted? My mother continued berating me, unaware that just now, to utter those words, my throat had burned with pain. I suppressed a cough and hung up, staring at my ghostly reflection in the mirror. Whenever Joanna entered the picture, I lost. She always effortlessly took everything from me. Joanna was my uncle's daughter. After my uncle and aunt died in a car accident, she was raised in our home. From then on, I heard this phrase daily, "Joanna's already so pitiful. Why must you compete with her? Can't you just let her have it?" That evening, Evan returned home looking utterly exhausted. I was treating the wound on my knee, a task I'd rather avoid, but it seemed serious. Even the slightest inflammation now caused me excruciating pain. It could trigger secondary infections. I numbly tended to it, though I'm actually terrified of pain. Every night, falling asleep is a struggle. Since college, I've suffered from severe anxiety. When it hits, I vomit and lose sleep, always ending up with a mouthful of sour fluid. Evan glanced at me. He'd been heading to the bathroom to shower when he suddenly noticed the bloody wound on my knee. What happened? How did you get like this? Couldn't you be more careful? I didn't answer him, focusing on treating the wound instead. I didn't feel like talking to him anymore. He slowly sat down beside me and reached for the gauze. I looked up, staring at him coldly. Lillian, I'm sorry. It really was an accident today. Please don't be angry with me anymore, okay? His eyes looked incredibly sincere. If the facts weren't staring me in the face, I might have been fooled by that look again. Evan, let's get a divorce. I'm exhausted. I didn't want to look at him anymore and lowered my head to continue dressing the wound. Just as I finished wrapping the gauze, he suddenly leaned in and pulled me into a tight embrace. Perhaps it was the panic of someone who'd done wrong, but he held me so tightly he even touched my wound. I hissed in pain, and only then did he slowly release me. Kneeling before me, he pleaded earnestly, Lillian, we have so many anniversaries ahead. Don't throw around the word divorce so casually. It hurts. Evan, this afternoon was the last shred of dignity I gave you. I met his gaze directly. He froze, then his face twisted into utter panic. Lillian, it's not what you think, I swear. The situation was so urgent, I had to rush over, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you directly. I just feared you'd misunderstand. For the first time, Evan stuttered. What are you afraid of, Evan? Am I that terrifying? Or is it that you're all afraid I'll bully Joanna, and now you're afraid I'll bully you? I laughed bitterly. Lillian, you're too emotional right now. I don't want to argue with you. He dodged the issue and retreated into the bathroom to shower. I ignored him and went into the study. The moment I closed the door, I felt my hands trembling. Lying on the bed, eyes wide open staring at the ceiling, I found it hard to sleep. I only managed 3 or 4 hours a night. Truthfully, I should have seen it long ago. Joanna was a vibrant red rose, the scarlet birthmark Evan cherished in his heart. When I met Evan, he and Joanna had already broken up. He never showed me photos of his ex-girlfriend. I only knew that relationship had left him deeply hurt, but I never imagined his ex-girlfriend was Joanna. We both silently agreed never to mention it. It wasn't until after we got married, when I went home for the new year, that Joanna happened to be back for the holidays too. That day, with Joanna present, I saw Evan look flustered for the first time. A woman's first instinct made me feel deeply uneasy. I wanted to confront Evan, but every time I broached the subject, he dismissed it as painful baggage from the past that only brought unhappiness. After the new year, Joanna left for overseas studies to pursue her passion for the violin. My parents sold their house to support her, moving back to the countryside. I couldn't quite describe that feeling back then. All my life, it had been like this. Joanna could afford expensive music lessons while I couldn't even cover tutoring fees. I'll never forget the look on my mother's face when she learned Joanna was pursuing further studies. Her face beamed with pride as she said she never imagined our family could have a musician. Evan was beside me then. He squeezed my hand tightly and said, to me, my wife is the best. He truly treated me well, let me freely use his phone, entrusted me with his bank cards. He was the online definition of a perfect husband. When my appetite waned, he learned to cook just for me, preparing meals every night after work. We'd stroll hand in hand at dusk. Those days were simple and pure. I believed they'd last forever. Then Joanna returned. She hadn't become a renowned musician. She developed severe depression. Her arms were covered in scars from razor blade cuts. My mother held her, crying uncontrollably. She came to me, her face gaunt, pleading, Lillian, I regret it. Can you give Evan back to me? The whole thing felt utterly absurd. She thought Evan was like the dresses, toys, rooms, or snacks I'd once given her. She was used to demanding things and expecting me to back down. I ignored her, treating her like a madwoman. She was the one who told me she'd been with Evan back then. I still remember that New Year's Eve, fireworks bursting everywhere. She acted unusually affectionate toward me for the first time, saying she wanted to watch the fireworks with me and pulling me outside. Evan stayed inside chatting with the elders. Joanna dragged me along, walking far, far away. At a park bench, she pulled me down to sit. She talked about the past, sighing, Lillian, I never imagined that little girl would get married someday. I stammered, not knowing what to say. Then she suddenly changed her tone, Lillian, you've always hated me, haven't you? Say something. I truly didn't know what to say. You hated me so much you married Evan, just because he used to be my boyfriend. As soon as the words left her mouth, she was already crying uncontrollably. Fireworks burst in that instant. She leaned against the bench, light reflecting on her face, where many tears glistened. It was the first time I'd ever seen Joanna cry like that. In that instant, my limbs went cold. Evan was her ex-girlfriend? We'd only been married a month. Heaven knows, if I'd known they were together, I would have run as far away as possible. But I didn't know. Evan barged into my life, told me how much he loved me, and stayed by my side through the hardest times. I didn't know you two had been together, I finally explained. She glanced at me, said nothing, and walked on ahead. A few days later, she left to pursue her musical dreams. Before departing, she texted me, "You've given in to me so many times. This once, I'll give in to you." I grabbed that text and had a huge fight with Evan. What did she mean, give in to me? If Evan couldn't let go, he should stay with her. I'd just pretend I'd mistaken her for someone else. Evan shouted, "This is unfair." He pulled out his phone and showed me, "Lillian, you can't do this to me. I didn't even add her contact info. I didn't know about your relationship. What would you have done if you knew? I would have been with you sooner. I'd avoid her, close my eyes, and not even look at her." He said this while closing his eyes. He made me laugh, and he quickly pulled me into a tight embrace. In the years that followed, Joanna truly never reappeared in our lives. I'd almost forgotten about the whole thing. Until she returned after finishing her studies, physically and emotionally shattered, like a rose on the verge of wilting, even more heartbreaking than before. Back then, Joanna complained of the cold every day, though it might have been partly because she came back in winter. My mom worried so much she grew a lot of gray hair. I even referred her to several doctors I knew. Until I saw the way Evan looked at her. I couldn't fool myself. How could the pain in someone's eyes be hidden? It felt like a steel needle piercing my heart, the agony leaving me breathless. I confronted him, and for the first time, he snapped, "Enough. Lillian, she's already like this, what more do you want?" His words made tears spill from my eyes. He rushed to comfort me, "I'm sorry, Lillian. I didn't mean to snap at you. After all these years together, don't you trust me?" I briefly pushed the thought aside. So much time, so much companionship had allowed me to deceive myself into dreaming. Later, he traveled to Nepal for work. He returned just in time for the new year, and we went together to my parents' house to give gifts. Without my knowing, I saw him pull out a bag of saffron and hand it to Joanna, saying, "The locals say this warms you up when steeped." Then, under her surprised and touched gaze, he took out an amulet and added, "They say this also protects people and brings smooth sailing." I remained silent throughout, feeling dazed as if transported back years ago. Back when my parents would buy Joanna piles of gifts after every outing, and I could only watch longingly, like a dog begging for scraps. On the way home, Evan took my hand. I struggled against it, only to suddenly notice he'd slipped a large gemstone ring onto my ring finger. I was taken aback. He pinched my cheek playfully. "Is our Lillian a vinegar maker?" The saffron was something my mother-in-law asked me to buy, and the amulet was just something I grabbed on the way. "They said your sister might have been possessed. But I spent ages picking out this ring. With me here, you'll always be safe." His sweet talk was always so moving. I stared blankly at the ruby ring, as big as a pigeon's egg. He suddenly kissed my forehead and said, "Lillian, let's have a wedding. I've always been sorry I never gave you this." Our eyes met. In that moment, I truly believed all my doubts before had been illusions. He did love me. Tears welled up instantly. He frantically wiped them away, asking, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" His expression was like a child who'd done something wrong. In that moment, I desperately wanted to tell him. During his business trip, my insomnia worsened, and I vomited relentlessly. At first, I thought it might be a happy occasion and went to the hospital excitedly. But seeing me vomit nonstop, the doctor suggested a full checkup. When I got the diagnosis, I couldn't believe it. How could this be? I was still so young, how was this possible? I visited several hospitals, but the results were the same. I pulled out my phone, desperate to tell him, but I couldn't calm down. I couldn't even face myself. I didn't know who to tell, or how to say it. The doctor asked why I hadn't come sooner. I said it had been like this since college, anxiety triggered vomiting. He sighed, young people have too much pressure these days. Back then, my mom couldn't afford to support me anymore because she was funding Joanna's education. She only paid my tuition. Every day she'd text and call, urging me to work harder, reminding me to face our family's reality. Sometimes at 6 or 7 in the morning, I'd get her messages asking if I had a part-time job, if I was making money, if I could get scholarships. She said she was anxious, that we never saved any money, and how would we afford retirement? I asked her why she was still funding Joanna's expensive music lessons. She snapped back, "Why are you always so petty? Why can't you let go of Joanna? She finally has a dream, shouldn't she be supported? What about me? What more do you want? I already paid for your college education. Are you trying to drive me to my death?" She wanted Joanna to live her dream life at the expense of my survival, but she didn't see it as a problem. She'd only say, "I gave birth to you and raised you. What more do you want?" Every day, I worried about living expenses, how to earn money, how to make my resume look better, how to find a higher paying job. That's when I met Evan. He comforted me, understood me. Later, when he started his business, I traveled with him everywhere. To save money, we bought standing tickets for over 20-hour journeys. He bought 2 small stools, and we sat hugging each other, him shielding me from the crowd. He whispered in my ear, "He'll make sure I have a good life." But now, I have no life left. Evan didn't know that on our wedding night, as we walked past the jewelry store not far from home, the name suddenly felt familiar. As if guided by some force, I stepped inside. Holding the red diamond ring on my ring finger, I asked the saleswoman about it. She was a very young girl, her face flushing slightly as she replied, "This ring? Just last Sunday night, right before closing, a gentleman rushed in straight off his flight to buy it for his wife. He must love his wife deeply, otherwise, why the panic? Was he panicking because he'd done something wrong?" I murmured, unsure to whom I spoke. She froze, visibly uncomfortable. I turned and left. I wondered why he'd suddenly buy a ring. On the way home, he bought gifts for everyone but me. Perhaps he felt guilty about neglecting me, so he bought me an expensive ring to make up for it. My feelings of gratitude seemed so ridiculous now. Those nights, I was terrified countless times. I wanted to tell him about my illness, to grasp at that tiny bit of warmth that never existed. But it was all just my own delusion. Lying in bed, tears streamed down my numb face. The door burst open. Evan pinned me down, kissing away my tears. "Lillian, what more do you need to stop overthinking?" A wave of nausea surged up my throat. With strength I didn't know I had, I violently pushed him away and ran to the bathroom, vomiting violently. He looked humiliated. "Lillian? What are you doing? Can't I even touch you anymore? How could you do this to me?" I ignored him, collapsing onto the floor. When I finally gathered the strength to stand, I splashed cold water on my face and said, "Let's get a divorce." "I mean it." He tossed me a handkerchief, then turned away. "You're dreaming." I watched his frantic retreating back. Silently, I murmured, "You will." I went to the hospital for a painkiller injection. I couldn't even swallow pills anymore. Then I went straight to Joanna's hospital. I barely sat down before she became so emotionally overwhelmed she ripped out her 4-tube. Blood spilled everywhere as she screamed at me, "Lillian, what do you want from me? Can't you just leave me alone?" I said nothing, just quietly peeled an orange. By the time I finished, I realized I couldn't eat it. I'm on a liquid diet now. There are so many things I want to taste, but I can't even manage this. I held it out to her. "Want some orange? It should be sweet." I wanted to taste it so badly, even if it was sour. Joanna grew even more agitated, knocked the orange out of my hand, and began sobbing uncontrollably. My mother burst in, carrying Joanna's meal. The dishes looked familiar, but I had no time to ponder it. She raised her hand and slapped me across the face. "What did Joanna do to you? Why won't you just leave her alone?" The blow made my nose bleed. I stared at the bloodstain on the floor without speaking, then got up and left the ward. My mother rushed out after me, wanting to say something. Finally, she grabbed my arm and asked, "Lillian, what's wrong? Did you catch a cold? Why have you lost so much weight lately? What business is it of yours?" "I'm your mother," she snapped. Really? I don't believe it. I smiled at her, but tears welled up as I laughed. She cried even louder than me. I'm your mother. What do you want me to do? Can't you try to understand me? You used to be so understanding as a child. How did you become like this? I couldn't bear to listen anymore. Perhaps from eating too little, my head spun violently. I fled the place as if escaping. But as long as Evan refuses to sign the divorce papers, I'll keep coming back here. Let's all torment each other together. Evan rushed back just as I was struggling with the mushy porridge. I tried swallowing a few spoonfuls but ended up vomiting them all back up. I sipped some sugar water and forced myself to swallow it down. Lillian, what on earth are you doing? He asked in a low voice, trying to keep his emotions in check. Could you make me a bowl of noodles? Evan was an excellent cook, and his noodles were especially delicious. But he hadn't cooked in ages. I couldn't recall if it was work or something else. I'd been surviving on liquid food for days, sucking it through a straw. For some reason, I craved noodles, the kind Evan made. I'd tried countless restaurants but never found his version. I knew I couldn't swallow them, but just smelling them would be nice. She's already like that. Please don't go looking for her, he pleaded. His words stabbed my heart like a knife, leaving it bleeding. I remembered when our love was at its peak. I told him he was my closest person. I truly believed that then, but I never imagined that closeness would be so fleeting. Divorce? If we divorce, I won't go find her. I insisted stubbornly. You're completely unreasonable. He stormed off in anger, slamming the door behind him. Evan once swore he'd never make me regret marrying him. But I do regret it. I don't understand why I want a divorce so badly, especially when it's almost over. But the thought of those days makes me ache. Do people really change? Why so suddenly? How could he treat me like this? How could he treat me like this? Why did I offer my heart only to have it trampled? They all enjoy trampling me. Can't I just get away now? I kept visiting Joanna every day. Anyone unaware would think we were close sisters. Then I finally realized who had been cooking those meals. When Joanna saw the look I gave her food, she challenged me, "Want some?" Evan made it. Right now, I can only stomach his cooking. That was the first time I nearly lost my composure in front of her. Before I even left the hospital, Evan called. His voice was irritated. "Lillian, stop messing around, okay? Joanna is a patient. Divorce. If you divorce her, I'll stop messing around." My response was the same as always. At the intersection, I desperately wanted to be hit by a car. But then it struck me, that wouldn't be fair to others. Everyone's struggling. I couldn't burden others with my death. I stepped back, watching the surging crowd and the constant flow of traffic. My mind was filled with images of Evan cooking for Joanna. The irony was truly unbearable. He looked exhausted every day. I understood his struggles and even learned to cook his favorite dishes, waiting for him to come home and eat, even though I couldn't stomach a bite myself. I understood his hardship, but he was exhausting himself running to make nutritious meals for Joanna every single day. Evan, how dare you? If I had the time, I'd sue him, fight him tooth and nail. But I only have my final days left. Maybe heaven heard my plea, or maybe Joanna finally broke. That day, I went to see her again. We argued at the stairwell entrance. I envied how freely she breathed and how much energy she had when she was yelling. My mom called Evan over too. Joanna cried, her face wet with tears, screaming, "I really don't want to see you. Just go die." I remained silent. She grabbed my arm and shook me violently. "What do you want from me?" I turned to look at Evan, my meaning clear. Joanna was overcome with emotion. She pulled me, lost her balance, and nearly fell. Then I saw Evan rush over in panic, catching her. I tumbled down the stairs. Glass lay scattered at the corner. I shielded myself with my hands. Crash! The glass shattered. My arm, covered in my white sweater, was laced with shards. Some had pierced my face too. I must have looked utterly miserable, truly hideous. I hadn't looked good in so long. I couldn't even bear to look in the mirror. So ugly. Evan rushed down, frantic. What happened? How did this happen? Blood stained my sweater red. Evan tried to lift me, but I pressed against his chest, fighting back tears. Let's get a divorce. Okay? If we divorce, I won't come back. I promise I won't bother you anymore. Let's get divorced, okay? I simply didn't have much time left. I couldn't afford to wait any longer. I couldn't bear to wait, and I didn't want to see Joanna. I especially didn't want to see my mother acting like a mother hen protecting her chicks. But I truly didn't want to die as Evan's wife. I didn't want them to handle everything after I was gone. What if there really was an afterlife, and I ended up meeting them again? Evan's face darkened. Do I disgust you that much? That you go to such lengths to divorce me? Fine. Have it your way. That day was the easiest of my life. The hospital bandaged my wounds, and we went to sign the papers. We just had to wait another month. I felt awful. I pleaded with the Civil Affairs Office staff, we both agree. Can't we do it now? They replied, you've already endured years of this. What's one more month? Yes. That 1 month was everything to me. The doctor said I didn't have much time left, that my days were numbered. That 1 month truly meant the world to me. Evan's face darkened further. Lillian, are you this eager to be free of me? I didn't want to see him again. Not even for a moment. My days are so few. I want these last days for myself. I stood up to leave. He blocked my path. We split the assets 50-50. The lawyers need time to divide everything. Rushing like this will cost you a lot. There's no need to hurry the divorce. It's all yours. Everything is yours. After a pause, I continued, Evan. We won't see each other again. I hope you get everything you want. Lillian, can't you stop being so childish? He shouted angrily behind me. I ignored him. I bought a ticket to New Zealand. I have an apartment there, purchased a year ago. It had a small garden with a huge jacaranda tree. They say it blooms profusely in spring and summer. I'd spotted it when a project earned me a hefty commission. The location was remote, so it was cheap. Thankfully, I hadn't mentioned it yet. Now I had somewhere to go. A few nights after moving into the courtyard, excruciating pain kept me awake. I got up to administer a painkiller injection and immediately received a call from my mother. She unleashed a torrent of abuse. Have you lost your mind? Divorcing someone as wonderful as Evan? To make room for your Joanna? Lillian, what nonsense are you spouting? She snapped angrily. I'm hanging up if this is all you have to say, I replied calmly. You don't care about me anymore? You got your share of the divorce settlement and now you're living the good life. You don't even care about your own flesh and blood? Her voice broke as she began to cry again. How much do you want? Do you find me that annoying? I gave birth to you. She began chanting it over and over, as if it were a spell. I was a puppet under its spell. As long as she repeated this incantation or something similar, I had to obey her. If you don't say it, I'm hanging up. I snapped impatiently. 300,000. Give me 300,000. Joanna needs medical care, and we still have to rent a place. She ventured cautiously. I'll give you 500,000. I had about 600,000 on hand, the rest would suffice for the rest of my life. This sum would cover her retirement, but if she insisted on continuing Joanna's support, there was nothing I could do. How generous of you. I muttered to myself, Mom, do I still owe you? What are you talking about? Haven't I paid you back yet? How much more do you want? What else do you need me to do? Lillian? Lillian? She called my name, sounding uneasy. I'll give you 500,000. Can you stop being my mom, okay? I won't be your daughter anymore, okay? I didn't choose this. I had no choice. I'll give you money, okay? You can't be my mom anymore. I hung up the phone. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I kept telling myself it was okay, it would be over soon, it was all over. Only these few days were mine now. I only had these last few days left. A small heater hummed in the room. Even with the AC on, I felt bitterly cold, burrowing deeper into the blankets. Winter sunlight streamed through the loosely drawn curtains, blindingly bright on my face. Only then did I realize dawn had broken hours ago. Propping myself up, I pulled the curtains wide. Rolling mountains, mist-shrouded peaks, the scenery was breathtakingly beautiful. Such splendid views would likely diminish day by day. I regretted all the wasted time. Before I could take in more of the scenery, my phone rang. Annoyed, I wanted to smash it, but Mary was coming to visit in 2 days. I wanted to see her too. If I broke the phone, she wouldn't be able to reach me. I needed to see her more. I picked up the phone. It was my father calling. Lillian, your mother's gone mad. Don't bother with her. Keep the money for yourself. Lillian, are you okay? I'm sorry, sweetheart. It's all my fault. Divorce is fine. Where are you now? The man who rarely spoke had said so much at once, yet I felt nothing. He was my father, my biological father. All these years, he worked grueling jobs to support our family. Yet he always stood by coldly watching my situation, telling me to understand them, to understand why my mother acted this way. They named me Lillian, meaning to know others' intentions, to be considerate, sensible, and obedient. But they never taught me how to know my own mind. Every day I wondered why I was alive, for one goal after another: study hard, yield to Joanna, save money for the family, earn money for the family. Dad. Yes. Dad's listening. I don't owe you anything anymore, right? Ah. Ah. Lillian. Lillian. He kept shouting. I mean, I don't owe you anything anymore, right? I repeated. Lillian. I'm sorry. It's all Daddy's fault. All Daddy's fault. Dad, can you do me a favor? I paused, then pleaded. Ask. Anything Daddy can do. He suddenly perked up. I don't want to be your daughter anymore. Is that okay? He didn't speak. All I heard was stifled sobbing. I continued, being your child is too exhausting. I'm truly worn out. Can I stop? Please don't contact me anymore. Don't look for me either. We're even now. After a long silence, he finally said, no one will make you suffer anymore. Never again. I hung up, tears streaming down my face, followed by violent coughing and vomiting. Exhausted by the pain, I fell asleep. When I woke up, Mary was right beside me, her eyes red from crying. I wiped her tears and said, why are you crying? Your sisters went ahead to scalp away. When you turn 100 and come down, I'll have your back. Before I could finish, she threw her arms around me. Lillian, you idiot. You idiot. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me sooner? I patted her back soothingly. But I just did, didn't I? She ignored me, wiped her tears, and went to prepare liquid food for me. She was remarkably well prepared, as if she knew exactly what to do, more professionally than even I did. How long have you been eating this? I looked down, avoiding her gaze. Don't worry about that. I can't remember the days. A large tear fell onto my blanket. Don't cry. I only told you. I want to remember your smile. I tried to comfort her, but my own tears fell too. She reached out to wipe my tears. Crying like this wasn't good. After a moment, I asked, how many days off do you have this time? The scenery here is beautiful. I'll take you sightseeing. I quit my job. She said calmly. Are you crazy? Why quit? You worked so hard for so long? For this? Have you lost your mind? She ignored me completely, packing away the dishes. Lillian, my life doesn't need these few days. But every day I see you is one day less. Let's not be so stingy with each other, okay? She said this with her back to me. In that moment, I suddenly felt my life wasn't so bad after all. After signing the papers that day, I blocked all of Evan's contact information. Mary helped me get the divorce certificate. She told me Evan had been inquiring about me constantly, demanding to know what was wrong. Mary ignored him. When she came back to tell me, I didn't react much. I just said flatly, I don't want to hear anything about him. I never want to see him again. Okay. I'll never let him see you, Mary soothed me like a child. My illness grew worse. I often lay awake all night in agony. At first, Mary still slept with me. Later, I whined, I just want to sleep alone in this big bed. Let me have it. She nodded silently. When the pain woke me again that night, she rushed in with a painkiller injection. Does it hurt that much? Call me. Call me, Lillian. The agony made me wish for death. I searched online about euthanasia, only to discover even dying costs money. Swiss euthanasia runs around $100,000. That thought made me give up. One night, an unknown number called. I recognized Evan's voice instantly and hung up. He texted, "You need to be present for the asset division." I wanted him to leave me alone. But then I remembered the euthanasia search. My hands trembled too much to type, yet the agony pushed me to try. Just give me the $100,000. The rest is all yours. Lillian, where are you? I want to see you. I'm sorry. Just one last time, okay? Forget it. I'll just die myself. I blocked that number too. Lying in bed, sweat soaked through my clothes. I lay awake, feeling the pain. Suddenly, the sky began to lighten. I felt a surge of strength. I changed into a pink jacket Mary had bought me. She always teased me about dressing like an old lady at my age and loved giving me pink things. I grabbed a blanket and lay down under the jacaranda tree's rocking chair. The sun rose slowly, heralding another day. Mary got up to pour me a glass of water. I couldn't quite make out her features and strained to open my eyes, wanting to see her clearly. She walked slowly toward me. When I could see her, she asked what I was looking at. Mary, the jacaranda tree only blooms in summer. When it flowers, it's a vast expanse of blue. It must be beautiful. Hum. I wish I could see it. Neither of us spoke. I reached out and took her hand. I didn't die in the house. I'm sorry I didn't leave you anything. Only this house remains. She cried and shook her head repeatedly. When the sun comes out, this house gets quite warm. Slowly, I lost consciousness. Lillian! Lillian! After death, one no longer cares about life's affairs. Let go of everything. You belong to yourself now. You are free. Her sobs echoed in my ears. My friend, stop crying. We will meet again someday. Extra chapter on the morning Lillian died, Evan suddenly felt a suffocating pressure. He was transferring money to her at the bank, he had even considered using the settlement funds to see her. But when Lillian cut off all contact, he truly panicked. This was their last remaining link. She'd rather give up her fortune than see him. Until that text message that night. He woke up in the dead of night, frantic beyond measure. He asked Lillian's best friend but got no answers. That woman's lips were sealed tighter than the Secret Service. He hurriedly sent her the money. The moment it went through, unbearable heartache overwhelmed him. He collapsed to the floor, so much so that security came over to ask if he needed help. He waved them off. But the instant he stepped out of the bank, tears streamed down his face. A fierce pain enveloped him, and he couldn't fathom why. Touching the tears on his face, he even felt a touch of absurdity. Suddenly, an unsettling thought gripped him: what had happened to Lillian? He exhausted every connection he had to track her down. Then he received a result he'd never dared imagine. Lillian had terminal cancer. He called Mary to verify, but the woman coldly snapped, "What's it to you?" He tracked down Lillian's small cottage and rushed there that very night. Mary sat blankly in Lillian's recliner. The branches of the blue catalpa tree swayed in the evening breeze. By the dim light, Evan saw Mary's lonely silhouette. In that moment, he was terrified. He couldn't even bring himself to ask. After several attempts, he finally managed to speak. "Where's Lillian?" Mary lifted her eyes to meet his, her tone icy. "What are you to her? What right do you have to ask? What gives you the authority?" For the first time in his life, Evan knelt. In the bitter cold of that winter night, he knelt before Mary, his eyes red with desperation. He begged her, pleading for just one last glimpse of Lillian. He had never felt such fear. Then came the answer he dreaded most in his life: Lillian is dead. She's already dead. Why won't you leave her alone? She opened the courtyard gate, her voice cold and cruel. Do you know what late-stage esophageal cancer is like? Unable to eat anything, starving to death, even drinking water becomes a struggle. Evan, you're so successful now, aren't you? Remember that woman who drank and took orders for you at banquets until she was vomiting uncontrollably? Did you know she suffered from severe anxiety? Why don't you look up the causes of esophageal cancer and calculate how much you contributed to her death? These are all your achievements. Evan, are you even human? She married you at 22 without even wearing a wedding dress. At 27, you promised to make it up to her, then left her alone. Have you no conscience? Evan listened with a vacant stare, as if his soul had been drained. He'd always believed there was still a chance. He'd convinced himself she was just throwing a tantrum. Like a drowning man, he clutched Mary's skirt and pleaded, I want to see her. Just one last look. Please. I beg you. Mary only responded coldly, you disgust me. People like you. Then she pushed him away and slammed the gate shut. Evan sat outside the yard all night. By the late hours, a light rain began to fall. Lying there, he felt himself slipping into numbness. This couldn't be real. Lillian, how could she be dead? She was only 27, still so young. She'd once said they'd have a child before turning 28. How could she leave first? When Mary opened the door that morning, she found Evan leaning against the garden wall like a drowned rat. She felt no sympathy whatsoever, but suddenly took an interest. Evan, I saw that money you sent Lillian. Evan opened his eyes, staring at her blankly. Then she added cruelly, do you know what she needed the money for? She was in the final stages of esophageal cancer, suffering so terribly she wanted to die every moment. She planned to go to Switzerland for euthanasia. Your money finally arrived, but she won't be able to use it now. Evan's fists clenched tightly, and he felt as if he might suffocate. Mary paid him no mind and walked back inside. As soon as she closed the door behind her, tears streamed down her face. She remembered Lillian's final days, lying in bed, struggling to speak. The first time she'd said to her, Lillian, I have the money. I'll take you to Switzerland. Lillian had typed on her phone, no. What if I die on the plane? It's fine here. Now she understood, Lillian couldn't bear the thought of spending money. She'd once said, how can the living make way for the dead? Her Lillian had always considered everyone else, anticipating their every need, yet never once thought of herself. Evan stood in front of the courtyard every day, sometimes for an entire afternoon. Mary found him unbearably annoying and mostly pretended not to see him. Until Evan suddenly declared, Lillian left half her marital assets with me. Do you really want that money going to someone like me? She left her belongings to you, she surely intended the money for you too. Mary shot him a deeply sarcastic smile. Sure. I won't refuse if you give it to me. Let me see her. Where did you bury her? How did you handle her funeral? I want to know. He spoke in a negotiating tone. But all she did was laugh scornfully. I knew you'd be so generous. Keep your money. After all, raising a lunatic like Joanna costs a fortune. For the first time in his invincible business empire, Evan suffered such a crushing defeat. That night, unable to contain himself, he climbed over the wall into the courtyard and saw the blanket on the sofa. A sudden, overwhelming intuition made him immediately recognize it as Lillian's. He reached out and took the blanket she used, it was saturated with her scent. Lillian's scent flooded his nostrils again after all these months, and for a moment, hot tears rolled down his cheeks. He curled up on the sofa in agony, sobbing. Mary heard the commotion in the living room and came out to find him like that, crouched like a child, clutching Lillian's old blanket. She felt incredibly irritated. Who was this man putting on a show for? She reached out to grab it, but couldn't pull it away at all. She hit him with a stick, but he still wouldn't let go. Evan even started bleeding from his nose. Enraged, Mary yelled, "You've dirted her things. You bastard!" He still wouldn't let go, clutching the blanket tightly to his chest. The more he put on this pathetic act, the more repulsed Mary became. Finally, she called the police. To her surprise, Evan fled with the blanket. The officers seemed to blame her for reporting over a mere blanket. Mary wanted to say something, but words failed her. She only murmured softly, "It belonged to my dead friend." The police tried to ask more, but Mary said nothing more, politely seeing them off. Evan darted through the old streets clutching the blanket like a treasure. He started laughing, then laughed until tears streamed down his face. Finally, he collapsed onto the pavement and wept like a child. Lillian, how could you be so heartless? Not even leaving me a shred of hope? He thought bitterly. Then a thought struck him, right. What did someone like me ever deserve? That night, he wrapped himself tightly in the blanket, still heavy with Lillian's scent. He sniffed it deeply, murmuring to himself, Lillian, come into my dreams. Come scold me. Come hit me. Just come see me once. He drifted off, dreaming of their first meeting in college, Lillian so shy and reserved. In the dream, he strained to see her clearly, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't make her out. A hazy veil of sleep seemed to hang between them, impossible to part. He forced his eyes open, only to wake up, his face wet with tears. Suddenly remembering something, he went back to the lawyer and cut off most of the marital assets, then transferred them to Mary. This was his first time sitting down in Lillian's house. He greedily took in every detail of the room, the last place Lillian had lived. In their former home, Lillian had taken away every trace of her presence. Even the rooms she had occupied still carried a heavy scent of disinfectant. Mary asked coldly what he meant. Evan nervously explained, she'd want you to be happy. I'm not asking for anything. Oh. I'll take it. Now leave. Mary said, clutching a book without looking at him. Where is she buried? Evan asked, still not giving up. Oh. Then I don't want it. Mary lifted her eyes, studying him with amusement. Can't I even know where she's buried? Evan was close to breaking. No. What right do you have to know? You tormented her like that while she was alive. Can't she even have 2 days of peace after death? Must you go and disgust her? Evan, don't you have a shred of conscience? Mary railed at him. Evan stood silently, letting her rant, yet appearing utterly helpless. Mary, initially furious, suddenly seemed to grasp something. She leaned close and whispered, do you know why Lillian insisted on divorcing you when she had so little time left? You're so clever, care to guess? The word stabbed him like a knife, forcing the painful truths he buried to the surface. He understood. He understood everything. She wanted nothing more to do with him. Her resolve was absolute. Like a defeated rooster, he slunk away, his defeat palpable. Just as he reached the door, he paused as if remembering something. You're right, he said. I don't demand anything. But she should give you what she owes you. Evan had lingered in New Zealand for so long, yet in the end, he took nothing but the blanket he'd stolen that night. Life seemed to carry on normally until one morning when he went to the noodle shop. Memories flashed through his mind like a movie reel, Lillian begging him to cook her a bowl of noodles back then. Staring at the bowl before him, he felt an overwhelming sadness he couldn't explain. He bolted from the shop like a deserter and never ate noodles again. When Joanna found Evan, he was nearly buried beneath a pile of empty bottles. Tears streaming down her face, she reached out to pull him up. Evan sneered at her. You sure know how to cry, don't you? Feeling pretty smug using tears to get pity, huh? Joanna flinched back. Evan, you're drunk. Crash! Evan smashed a beer bottle, then drove the shards straight into his wrist. He cut deep, blood spilling everywhere. This is how you cut yourself back then, right? Why did you do it? Didn't you know we were planning our wedding? You sent me those photos, your mom came looking for me, he couldn't continue. Joanna finished his sentence. You didn't have to come. You can't blame everything on me. She cried until her voice cracked, then reached out to cover his wound. Evan, don't do this. Let's go see a doctor first. Evan ignored her, shoving her aside without a glance. Only then did Joanna realize her hand was cut by glass shards, but Evan didn't spare her a single look. He ran into the yard, crying out loudly, Lillian. Punish me. Can you see me? Just once, please? He crouched on the ground, utterly lost. Joanna struggled to get him to the hospital. She tried to console him, Evan, we have to move forward. We still have to live our lives. But Evan stared straight at her, but Lillian has no future. Who among us deserves a future? Unable to meet his gaze, she panicked and ran away. Before she even reached home, her tears fell faster and faster. They had known about Lillian's death for a very long time. She still remembered the day Lillian's mother came to ask Evan about her. She complained, "She really doesn't answer my calls anymore. She's off living the good life by herself." Evan had only replied in silence, "She's dead." She hadn't grasped it at first. Dead? What are you talking about? Who's dead? Lillian. How could that be? The middle-aged woman murmured to herself, as if trying to convince herself. She just doesn't want to deal with me anymore. Why use that excuse? Seeing her expression, Evan recalled the information he'd later uncovered. He thought about how this woman, clearly Lillian's mother, had come to him time and again for Joanna, even asking for recipes to cook for her, all because Joanna had complimented his cooking at a family gathering. Suddenly, he said with cruel indifference, "Isn't every day Lillian lives just another day of suffering? What does she still owe you? How do you expect her to repay it? You have Joanna now. Do you even need her as a daughter?" His words left her flustered. She drifted away in a daze, muttering all the way, "You're all helping her deceive me. Lillian is my daughter. She wouldn't abandon me." Upon hearing the news, Lillian's father said nothing and simply moved out of the house. When they called, his phone was turned off. He hadn't left a single word. This left her mother even more distraught. She often called out to Joanna, "Lillian, Mommy bought you Haagen-Dazs. Didn't you always want some?" She noticed Lillian's envious glances at Joanna, but she was accustomed to Lillian's understanding nature. She knew her daughter would comprehend and never ask for anything. Occasionally, she'd pull out a stack of money, her face breaking into a pleading smile. "Lillian, isn't it time for your tutoring lessons? Mommy has the money all ready for you. Lillian, are you cold? Is there anything you want? Mommy will buy it for you, okay?" She always spoke to Joanna like this. Until one day Joanna completely broke down. She bought a pile of children's clothes and pleaded with Joanna, "Lillian, look. The pink dress you always wanted, and the coat you asked for, Mommy got them for you. Please don't ignore me anymore, okay?" Joanna stared at her fawning smile and, for the first time, spoke with venom, "Auntie, why are you saying this to me? As if Lillian could ever come back. Was it me who kept pushing her? I didn't spend your money, did I? Didn't your family spend every penny of my parents' compensation?" Hearing these words, she snapped out of her daze, clapping her hands in a trance. "Karma. Karma. Karma. It's all retribution. Ha 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 ha." Tears rolled from her cloudy, gray eyes. She stormed into her room, rummaged through drawers and cabinets, and emerged with a pile of items. Collapsing onto the floor, she grabbed Joanna's arm. "Your parents were the ones at fault. The other party only paid 20,000 yuan out of humanitarian consideration. I'll give you back the 20,000. Just give me back Lillian, okay?" she demanded, holding up the pile of documents from years ago. Joanna felt her legs go weak. All these years, she'd made demands and hogged attention in this household. She'd known about Lillian's situation for a long time. But she'd instinctively felt that since everyone in this family lived off her parents' money, they should give in to her. Yet the truth was this? How could a mother not love her own child? She vaguely recalled her grandmother weeping as she begged her aunt years ago, pleading that Lillian was their family's only bloodline. As layers of the past peeled away, she didn't know how to face it. She went through the motions at work each day, returning home to play along with her aunt's charade. She listened as her aunt called her Lillian, guiding her through memories of her past as an executioner. When the blue jacaranda blossoms were at their peak, Mary chose a sunny, breezy day to scatter Lillian's ashes. Holding the urn, she released them into the wind, exactly as Lillian had requested. As she scattered them, she murmured, "Lillian, the weather is especially lovely today. So warm." You were right, the jacaranda blooms are truly beautiful, clustered together in vast swaths of sky blue. "Lillian, I'm eating well, earning well, living well. You must too. Lillian, you're free now." She took a few days off to stay in that garden again, lying in the rocking chair as petals drifted down from time to time. Suddenly, she felt a pang of regret, remembering how Lillian had once shared her vision of this very scene when she bought the place. But she would never get to experience it herself.